last week we talked about this time, actually, to the new Member of Parliament for Waitaki, Miles Anderson, sitting on a substantial majority, but like everybody else, sort of kept at a distance as to how negotiations were going. And Miles saying, gosh, I know about as much as you do, because negotiations were obviously intense and detailed, and he was waiting to get his office, waiting to be able to appoint his staff, living in the same status as we were. And in his particular case, it was much more important because he's actually elected to represent people and didn't have any staff or any ability to do anything about it either. Well, he won't be thinking that this morning, and he joins us now to talk about the changes that will happen as a consequence of the coalition agreements signed on, or at least made public, on Friday morning. Miles, welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, good morning, Michael.
When did you find out?
I knew that the night before.
Oh, you knew the night before they'd signed it? When did you actually see the actual agreements, Miles? When did you get those?
They were sent out when everyone else got them, Michael. We'd gone over all the stuff in a caucus meeting, I guess, and then...
did you have a Zoom caucus meeting, did you?
Yes.
On the Thursday night?
Yes.
Right, okay. And so you couldn't have gone through 26 pages of details, so I assume that you just... what did you do? Just generalities, actually, we discussed, and the policy areas where we had conceded stuff, I guess, was what was discussed mostly. What do you think? I'm looking at these policies now, Miles. What do you think National conceded on?
The foreign buyer stuff was one.
That was never a go anyhow, really. But carry on, yeah.
And just a couple other things that other parties wanted in that weren't part of our manifesto, I guess, was, I suppose, a concession, if you like.
Yeah. Well, the reaction you've had in the last 72 hours from your party membership in the Waitaki, what's it been like?
They're pleased.
Yeah?
They're pleased, yep, and they're happy with what it looks, the agreement looks like, and they just want us to get on with it now.
Yeah. Because one of the things that wasn't highlighted on Friday afternoon is that, in actual fact, the National Party got everything it wanted. Can I just quote this to you? National New Zealand First Parties, it's the same clause in with ACT as well, agreed to progress in this terms the policies set out in National's fiscal plan, tax plan, 100-day plan and a 100-point economic plan, except for the specific exemptions which have been agreed. I mean, you got 98% of what you wanted anyhow as well too, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd say Christopher Luxon did a pretty good job negotiating that.
Yeah, so, and National and New Zealand First and ACT have signed up for, I mean, they're in Cabinet now, so it's also majority, it's Cabinet rules. National's in charge. You're running the show.
Well, we will be as soon as everyone's sworn in, yeah.
Well, that'll happen very soon. When have you been told when Parliament's going to convene for the first time and you're going to get sworn in, Miles?
Next week.
Oh, it's next week. Okay.
Yep.
And in the meantime, will you be going to Wellington, sorting out your office there?
Yeah, I'm going up on... I've got a couple of appointments in Wellington anyway, so I'm going up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And sorting a few things out. And then next week, I'm not sure what the program is, whether I go up on Tuesday morning or Monday afternoon. And then sometime this week we'll be notified. Because we've got to, for the swearing in, I want some of the family there and what have you. And
absolutely.
So that's got to be organised. And so we're just waiting to hear, which I would say will be sometime today, what the program is, so we can organise our lives around it, I guess.
When will you know the select committees that you're on, that sort of stuff, Miles?
that shouldn't be too far away either, Michael. We were asked what select committees we would like to go on. It doesn't mean you're going to get to go on them, but so people will put their preferences in and you go on too. So that's now up to Chris Bishop, being the leader of the House, will be doing most of that, I would think.
Yeah.
Organising the select committees in conjunction with the ministers responsible, I guess. And so I wouldn't think that would be too far away. Sometime this week we'll find out.
Was there anything is there anything in those coalition agreements, those 26 pages, which you're uncomfortable with, Miles?
No, to be honest, not at all. I think it was pretty good reflection of what actually the electorate were talking about to me when I was door knocking. So I think the coalition agreement is pretty good, really good.
Now, already I opened the show by saying that the mainstream media are not going to give you a honeymoon. The criticism, the critiques, the upset, the outrage, in fact, is coming from some journalists editorially. John Campbell, for God's sake, taking over Television One and News to slam the coalition agreement. And then, obviously, editorials published in the Sunday newspapers as well. Is this what you expected?
Yep, pretty much. Actually, Michael, it's quite interesting, isn't it? There's been very little analysis of government policy or proposed policies for 6 years, and suddenly now they're very, very keen on analysing everything. So that doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest.
No, and they were, as I said, I mean, there was a totalitarian regime in there for a wee while. They were quite happy to play a cheerleader to that. If you get a bit stroppy, they'll certainly be all over you. But you know that. You know that, don't you, Miles? So as you're going to Wellington, you're the Member of Parliament for Waitaki, you're the National Party man, you know that you're not going to get a fair ride from the mainstream media in Wellington.
Yeah, look, it will be interesting to see how that plays out over the next 6 months or so, but I think there's been a pretty good lead, if you like, or a pretty good example set by the three leaders of the different parties during the coalition negotiations. They don't talk to the media. It drives them nuts, and so particularly Winston, he really got stuck into them, didn't he? So unless they're going to be balanced in their reporting, they mightn't find that they'll get much from any of the ministers.
No, I think you're probably right. Listen, the other thing, can I ask you, Miles, is your reaction from party members has been good, you say. What about those out there in the wider public sector in your electorate? I mean, you told me you're the whitest electorate in New Zealand the last time we chatted. Do you think the stuff that is going to, wheel back on the Maori preference and the cultural nuances of not so much nuances, almost demands of the last 3 years, has that gone down well with your electorate as well, the wider electorate?
Look, I think the electorate's just after equity and treatment, and rather than preferential treatment, which they felt some of the policies of the previous government encouraged. So, yeah, they're pretty fair-minded people everywhere across the country, and you know, you'd have to be pretty blinked to not recognise some of the pitfalls and obvious social problems that were going to be that were being created by the previous government's policies. So I think people just want everyone to get on with it and everyone to have the same treatment and a fair crack of the whip for everybody. I mean, people are pretty fair-minded in my view.
Well, I mean, and it's a traditional conservative viewpoint that obviously New Zealand has voted for 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago. The other thing you would have seen some criticism over was the smoke-free legislation. I'm not sure if you're across that one, Miles, but does that disturb you at all?
No, not at all. Look, all that was going to do is create more of a black market, have, a lot of the ram raids have been due to the implementation of some of the smoke-free legislation anyway. And when you make products so expensive and desirable, then there's obviously a criminal element that want to take advantage of that. And I think some of those... look, a good example, I suppose, if you want to compare it to things, is years ago when I was travelling overseas, I spent time in the Ukraine, and over there at the time, Gorbachev was in charge, and he had decided to... he was. He had decided to address the alcoholism issue that they had, because there's some...
Oh, no, the Russians...
major...
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so he had ripped out a heap of vineyards in the Crimea and stuff, and made vodka, which was their drink of choice, a lot more expensive. It didn't stop people drinking, it just meant they didn't spend that money on their families. So I think there needs to be some thinking, more deep thinking going into this, because people are going to smoke regardless. I mean, it was quite ironic that the same people that were wanting to ban smoking were wanting to
legalise cannabis.
It doesn't make any sense.
I know. It's just ridiculous. I know. And you're absolutely right. They were the same people, or they are the same people.